Okay, I'm really excited about this one. Um, it's called The Nature of Becoming. And it's a topic that's been brewing for quite a while in recent weeks. But I knew it wasn't the right time to share my perspective on it. And I could just feel that there was a deeper revelation within myself I had to uncover before I'd be able to share it. Using metaphors and using a story to convey my perspective properly. And it's a very deep topic, because it has the potential to profoundly shift your perspective if you can wrap your head around it and really understand it, because it does require a level of understanding around who and what you are exactly. Being that you are not one thing, you're like a hybrid of three things working together as one, who are symbiotic. And, all of the issues that are bound up in that around our identity. Are we the ego? Are we the mind? Are we the body? Are we the soul or the spirit? Which part is us? Which part am I? Am I David? Am I am I one thing? Am I many? Are we one? Are we separate? And this is this is kind of an apex moment for me personally as well, because it represents the culmination of a many, many, many years obsessed with self-awareness, or self-realization, I like to call it, realizing who and what I am and what I'm capable of becoming. And so here it is, the nature of becoming. So when you think of becoming, you think of, for me personally, I envisage, the idea and the vision I have of myself. And when I think of the word becoming, it's kind of like a process of evolving into that vision. And that's exactly what it is. But there's a level of it where it is the actual essential nature of our spirit is that it is becoming. And when you understand this, when you understand the nature of your spirit, that it is infinitely becoming, there's a paradox within that, because when you become really adept at, when you have been really deep within yourself to discover really, and you're not afraid of your own shadows anymore, and you're happy to experience a negative emotion or a negative thought, you're happy to embrace it. You're equally as happy to embrace it as a positive emotion. Your inward journey begins to, it becomes much more rapid, and you evolve much faster than if you're constantly trying to focus on the light and being happy and being seen to be good and all the rest of it. Like you're start trying to please some unseen authority in order to win its favor. Once you've broken free from that, from imbuing an unseen authority with your own power, and you direct it inward, and especially into the shadows, there will be a moment where you transcend the need to meditate, because you can just decide to be entirely present, It's just an intention, and there's no state you have to get yourself into. There's nothing you have to resist in order to be in that state. And for me, it was a natural progression once I'd really mastered the ability to receive and nurture every single thought that I receive. Or at least acknowledge it and consciously choose to give it my presence once I've finished this email, or once I've finished this logo, or once I've finished this, whatever it may be. Everything ramps up. And once you're in that space, you can then, without needing to go into a meditative state, you can go within yourself and find basically anything in the universe. Because you receive a thought, you give that thought your unconditional presence. The fact that you're giving it your unconditional presence, as in that meaning, all you're doing is observing it. The act of observing it is appreciating it. It's giving it energy because it's shining light upon it. And so you're giving it energy. And as you observe it, you see that it's becoming more. That thought, it was just a fleeting thought. Now you've given it your presence. You're imbuing it with energy or light just through the observation of it. Therefore, it is appreciating. And this is what appreciation really means. To observe something and to consciously give it your energy. And it becomes something else. It becomes a vision. You can see it unfolding. And until it keeps becoming more, you're just giving it your choiceless awareness. There's no decisions being made. There's no judgment, because you're not capable of interpreting it yet. You can't see the fullness of what it has the potential to become. And in the moment that you can interpret it, you've given meaning to it. And so it is becoming, it is becoming just through your presence, just through your observation. It is becoming more and more and more. And I've used this metaphor before of a painter. You've got the blank canvas, and then you've got the palette with all the colors. You've got the brush dipping it into the bit of this color, bit of that color, mixing it in the middle, and then the stroke is made. The painting, if you were an observer watching the painter, you would just be seeing random brush strokes. A bit of blue here, a bit of green there, some funny textures there. And there's no judgment. You're incapable of judging it, of what it is. You're just observing it becoming more. And eventually, it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle. You can relate it to the jigsaw puzzle as well, but we'll stick with the painting. And at some point, you're starting to see its form. You're starting to see it taking shape. And eventually, you'll be able to interpret meaning. So it goes from I am seeing, as the observer, I am seeing some green strokes on the page. I'm seeing some white lines being drawn. I'm seeing something red. And so you can see there's slight interpretation coming into it. You're interpreting the colors at least. And then, but eventually you see it taking shape. The combination of those strokes and these colors means that this painting is becoming a painting of a shed or whatever it may be. It is becoming more. As you're observing it, it's becoming more and more and more. And this is how all of creation works. And so in this energy, what's happening is you're being delighted and surprised by what's unfolding. You're not trying to control what it becomes. You're just observing. It is this. It is this. That's a door. I see, that's a door handle. Okay, that's a roof. And you're delighted and surprised as the painting is becoming what it is. It's realizing the potential for what it can become as you are just purely observing it without judgment. You see? So when, as human beings, if we can, once we reach a state of total allowing of all of our thoughts without judgment, I call it choiceless awareness, because you're not making choices. A choice is a judgment. A decision is a judgment, because the decision is imbued with meaning. If I do this, it means that. Every decision is imbued with meaning. If I tilt my cell phone towards my eyes, it means that I can see it better. If I put it back down on the table, it means that my hand is now free to type. Every decision is imbued with meaning, but often we're not conscious enough to be aware of the choices that we're making, or that are being made on our behalf. And this is where this gets interesting. When I say being made on our behalf. So, I just want to, before I do that, I want to go deeper into becoming. Because what's really, really important to understand is that with this painting, in fact, this is where I'm going to transition to the metaphor about a jigsaw puzzle, because it's much easier to understand. So let's say you were given a gift of a jigsaw puzzle, but rather than there being any packaging, it's given to you all these little pieces in a clear plastic bag, like a Ziploc bag. So there's no picture, there's no instructions. You've received a jigsaw puzzle all jumbled up in a clear plastic bag. So you actually don't know what that jigsaw puzzle has the potential to become. So what do? You open up the bag, you pull out the first jigsaw piece, you look at it and you go, oh my goodness, I have no clue what this is. But you're thinking, oh, I wonder what it has the potential to become. I wonder what it's going to be. So notice the absence of control. You're allowing it to be what it is. You see? It is what it is. It is exactly what it is. And your whole mindset is to be surprised and delighted by what it has the potential to become. And so you're in a total state of allowing. You're not going to try and control it, because it is what it is. Its nature is whatever it is. And you don't know what that is. You want to be surprised and delighted. And I'm going to expand on this mindset a bit later of being surprised and delighted by creations. And so you realize that you're not going to be able to do it one by one. So you tip the whole bag out, and what's the first thing you do? You start moving them all around. You flip them all on the picture side. So if any of them are upside down, they're all facing up. And then you start moving them around the table so that they all have their own space. So they all have their own space on the table. And now, what do you have? You have a big picture view. You can see everything. You're hovering above it, just observing. And how do you decide which piece to look at first? It's not a logical decision. something arises within you and you grab this piece, and then you see another piece and you're like, oh, that looks like that could connect to this piece. And the pieces are almost gravitating towards each other based on a feeling, based on an intuition, some kind of instinct. And you're jostling everything together. So I want you to, in this moment now, I want you to run a secondary vision of atoms and molecules that are currently not connected. So there's no molecules, just atoms. And I'll just leave you with this understanding about atoms is that they are popping into and out of existence. They're coming in and out of space, being birthed, being birthed into existence, and then vanishing out of existence back into space. So they're all jostling around. So you've got your jigsaw puzzle, they're all jostling around, and they're seeking their counterpart. So if one of those jigsaw pieces has an appendage, has a bit that pokes out, it's seeking another jigsaw puzzle that's got a recessed aspect that's the same shape. And that's where it all begins. So, and the ideal mindset to approach this in is to say they are seeking their complement. What is the piece that complements me so that I can become more? So you find that first piece, you find its complement, you snap them into place, and then you have two jigsaw pieces, and you're beginning to see what it has the potential to become. So now you're seeing two jigsaw pieces. Now you're seeing there's five appendages. There's five, let's say, masculine bits jutting out that are seeking recessed bits. And so those bits that are pointing out are seeking something to receive them, their complement. And then you continue this process. And as each piece finds its complement, you're seeing it become more and more and more. And the only intention that is imbued in the entire thing is to allow what it is to become more. You're not trying to control it. You're not trying to get an appendage to fit into a recess that it just doesn't fit. So if they're incompatible, you allow the incompatibility to just be. You don't try and control it. You don't try and force it. You allow it. You recognize the incompatibility and you continue seeking the harmonious connection. And it continues to unfold and become more and more. And so you can begin to see atoms becoming molecules. And it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same within the DNA, where you have hydrogen bonding everything together within the DNA and enabling and allowing the base not minerals, the base substances that form the DNA to combine together in an infinitely unique and different chain, forming more complex molecules, enabling more complex cells, more capable cells. And it's this endless chain of molecules being held together at their source by hydrogen bonding. And if you think of a double helix, the hydrogen is what's in the center, bonding the the masculine and the feminine aspect of the double helix. So the single helix is bonded to its counterpart by the hydrogen. And it's just a jigsaw puzzle, becoming more endlessly. And this is the nature of becoming. Now, with the jigsaw puzzle metaphor, there's an ending to that. So you allow it to become, you continually keep enabling compatible connections to take place until you see until you realize the full potential that it has to become more. And it ends, and you see, oh, it's a photo of the Eiffel Tower. Classic one. And that potential's realized. And so this is the mindset that I want to imbue here in terms of becoming, is that at the end we are delighted and surprised by what it became. And that is the energy that is imbued within all of life and all of existence. That we are giving our unconditional presence to the unfolding and realization of what we have the potential to become. Meaning, us as human beings, yes, of course, but at some point you begin to realize that you are much more than just a human being looking out of your two eyes. And then you realize, you begin to experience yourself as part of a greater body of some giant organism. And you begin to realize that you're not only the observer, you're also the observed. And you are also the spirit becoming more and more. And that the whole setup is really just to facilitate this analogy I've been using of the jigsaw puzzle, of a silent observer, unconditionally present, observing the unfoldment of itself. I am this. I am that. I am that. But being delighted and surprised at what it is becoming. But understanding that it is recognizing, it is realizing itself. This is what I am. I am this. I am that. I am that. And so, when you really become adept at going inward, and you can begin to see the microcosm and the macrocosm of everything within your own body, you will eventually come to see and realize that the original intention of the greater intelligence of what you are was to create for itself a body that is capable for doing everything for it. That was capable of bringing, or what's the best word to describe this? The nature of this. I want a body that is capable of providing and doing everything for me. I want a body that is capable of doing everything for me. And this is, the microcosm of that is us in our human body. And then I want to create a spirit that is capable of seeing everything for me. And so the last piece of that is I want to create a mind that is capable of interpreting what I am seeing for me. And so this leaves some clues to the true nature of a human being and the makeup of a human being, and that we're a microcosm of this exact thing, where we are actually four things. Lots of us know about the mind, the body, and the spirit, but we are also the observer. And so hopefully this isn't getting too mind-bending right now, but we are a physical body. We are a non-physical spirit, and we are a non-physical mind. So the mind is like the container, and we are the observer also. And the best way to understand the part of our nature that is the observer is to bring ourselves into a state of choiceless awareness, where we're just looking at things without judging them, but understanding and realizing that we have the free will choice on what to focus on. So right now I can look at the microphone. Right now I can make a choice to move my focus to my cell phone. Now I can move my focus to my water bottle. Now I'm moving my focus to my keyboard. And everywhere that focus is going, I'm imbuing with appreciation. It is appreciating because I'm shining the light of awareness on it and imbuing it with the same power that creates everything in existence. We are the observer, and we wield that power to make a decision about what it is we focus on. And everything that we are focusing on is appreciating, but it is appreciating based upon the lens, the perspective that we are seeing that through. And so that leaves us some clues to how the rest of the setup works. Okay, so I'm the observer making a decision to focus on a specific activity. And it is through what I'm seeing through my two eyes, and also my third eye of my imagination. And it is my interpretation of everything that I am seeing that is interpreting the meaning. In the same way with the painting, your first interpretation is of the colors. This is green. You're beginning to judge it. This is red. And then as you're allowing it to become more and more, the interpretation just happens. The interpretation being the meaning. This is the Eiffel Tower, or so it is the interpretation of what is being seen that gives rise to what we are then capable of becoming. You see? So we are observing everything. That gives it the energy. The meaning is the interpretation of what is being seen in our mind's eye and through our two eyes. And then the meaning is the marriage it's the interpretation, and that is the marriage of the mind and the spirit, or the soul, being the non-physical part of us. And meaning is the signal that speaks the language of the body, of the physical body. And meaning is what, that's how we speak to our physical body. And our physical body is the alchemist. and it materializes something new based upon the meaning that is conveyed. And that is how everything in existence evolves. So once you understand this, it would be quite normal to look at the rest of nature and say, well, everything else lives in harmony. Everything else is harmonious. Everything else, if you look at an ecosystem that really thrives, everything is living in harmony with everything else. And it's not this isn't balance. It's harmony. Balance would be to say that there's equal measure of all things within that ecosystem, but that's not the case. It's the uniqueness of the expression of the individual being into that ecosystem that creates the diversity and therefore supports the interdependency. And you might look at that and say, well, how come everything else is thriving except for human beings? And we're the ones that have got this power to express free will. And so what's actually happening is, and this is, I totally get this perspective, it's totally normal. But what's actually happening is, in every other being, behavior just happens based on the interpretation. So in the same way with us, they have an observer self. Everything that is being focused upon by that being in its own way. Whatever mechanism it has for giving its attention to something, is appreciating it. It has a mechanism for interpreting what it is experiencing, therefore imbuing meaning, and its body responds to that signal, the signal of meaning, the interpretation of the environment, and behavior just happens. So, we can look at nature and go, well, they've got it right. They're evolving, they're harmonious, and human beings are just, what are we doing? How? We've got this amazing power of free will, but we haven't got it right yet. And it's to understand that this is actually natural. It's part of nature, that we are evolving into this state of being. We think we're more advanced and more evolved than everything else because we can exert our power over everything. And we have higher intelligence. But it's important to understand that intelligence does not equal self-awareness. It doesn't equal self-awareness. And so what you're finding in another being is simply one thing, plain and simple, and that is it's imbued with trust of the body, of the physical form. That's not to say that it is fully self-aware, but it is to say that through its evolution, it hasn't built a mistrust of the capability and capacity of its body to materialize its form, the form that it needs to take in order to adapt and evolve and change. So human beings, most things that we are resisting are to do with the body. An impulse, feeling compelled to behave in a certain way. So you can see we have a deep mistrust of the body, of the impulses that the body is trying to send us. But the physical body is, its nature is that it's the master alchemist. It can produce, any form of mineral, vitamin, protein. I mean, once you understand how DNA works, you would just realize that it's irrefutable that the body is the most extraordinary alchemical mechanism in existence. And when you start looking at the subtle layers of the body and you start understanding the, what are typically called the chakras, and the connection of the chakras to the subtle bodies, and you begin to realize that you actually have no clue of the potential of the body to be a master alchemist. And, your body, if it had to, would evolve into something capable of flying. If your perception of the nature of your environment changed to such a degree, then your body would interpret that meaning and would produce the necessary chemicals and molecular chains with the appropriate bonds that would produce the appropriate cell that could then become within you a being capable of flying. So it is the master alchemist. It's only our beliefs about what it is capable of, and our interpretation of everything that we experience determines what it is capable of becoming. And so to bring back the metaphor of the jigsaw puzzle, we're not just sitting back and observing what it's capable of becoming. We're not allowing it to follow its nature in order to surprise and delight us with what it is able to materialize, because it is an alchemist of what it is able to become. We're trying to control it. We feel an impulse from the body. We reject it because we think that, if I eat this, it's got toxins in it, and therefore those toxins are bad for me, and so therefore I won't. I'll reject that urge from my body. I mean, that's one of millions of different ways that we ignore the impulses from our body. We don't trust it. But here's the thing. We're right not to trust it. But the reason why we can't trust it is not because of its nature. It is always providing you with everything. It is always bringing you to the best of its ability what it is you believe that you want. And so the issue is the interpretation. It's the interpretation of what we are observing in our lives that is causing the body to materialize the way that it is. And this goes for absolutely every form of disease. And so once you understand this, and you begin to realize that the oppression of the body, yes, it is called for in many cases because the urges that we're receiving, the consequences of those may seem to be really detrimental. And so totally get it. But the actual issue is not the body itself, it's the interpretation of our human experience. So in this scenario, what the ideal mindset to bring to it is is to say, I am, let's say you have, let's say you've been diagnosed with something like diabetes. You would say, I am a being that is capable of evolving into something that can resist insulin, so that, now that was a bit clunky the way I said it, but hopefully you get the gist here. I have evolved into a being capable of resisting insulin, so that, now the key is in understanding the so that. Once you understand the nature of reality and of who you are and what you are, and you realize that everything's just following its own nature, the body is carrying out the interpretation. It is actually materializing everything that you want based on what you're interpreting of your environment. And so from its perspective, it has evolved to become something that you want. So what that means is that there is a hidden benefit in absolutely everything that you would call a disease. Every part of you that you think needs healing has actually got a hidden benefit that you are yet to understand, because you are unaware of a perspective that you are holding, that this disease or this malady in your body is actually a solution for. Understand this. Understand this. Every disease you have. And so the key, and this is the key that unlocks everything, is to understand the meaning. And this is why I say so that. If you ever want to get yourself into a state of imbuing meaning into your life, when you're interpreting your environment or anything at all, just throw in a so that at the end of the sentence. You'll notice when I speak in my podcasts, I'm always emphasizing so that, because in that moment I'm triggering myself to imbue meaning into what I've just observed. And that way I know I'm communicating with my body. So if you have an issue with your own physical body, and it goes for the same for emotions as well. But if you have an issue within your body and you've been diagnosed with diabetes, you can begin by saying, I have evolved to become capable of resisting insulin, so that. And what that will evoke is the exploration inward to understand the hidden benefit of why it is beneficial to resist insulin. And you would realize that, you would understand and come to know that the so that, in this case, there's actually a few so that's with this one in particular. So if I was to finish that sentence now, it may be, I'm a being that has evolved to become capable of resisting insulin, so that I would not be poisoned by sugar. And so then it begins to unravel. Oh shit, I'm holding a belief that sugar is poison, but I actually still eat sugar. And so then you begin to unravel your perspective about sugar. Why is it that I believe sugar is poisonous? And then you go on a journey to explore that, to understand that, the nature of sugar. And what you'll eventually come to find is that everything that is biological is made of sugar. It's an essential part of the process of creation, especially at a DNA level, at a genetic level. And you begin to realize that to resist and reject sugar, to hold a belief that sugar is poisonous, you're actually holding, you're interpreting a meaning that's telling your body that its nature is poisonous. That the process of it creating new cells, which requires sugars, at the base level, at the absolute base level, it is perceiving, it is reacting to the process of creating new cells as though it's poison. And it's rejecting itself. And so if you're one of these people in your life that is experiencing being rejected by the universe, self-rejection, this is at the absolute core, deepest level of your being, is your belief about sugar. You are rejecting your own biology. You're rejecting the absolute essence of your nature. And so insulin resistance is really, in truth, what's happening is your body is rejecting sugar because you believe it's poisonous. Your body is blocking itself from creating new cells in your body, from replicating the DNA because sugar is poisonous. How can the body simultaneously hold the perspective that you believe sugar is a poison? How could it utilize sugar as a building block to create a new cell if it believes that it's poison? There is always a hidden benefit, but it's the perspective that you hold that is distorted. Every distortion in the body is a distortion, not of the mind, but of the interpretation, which is a marriage of mind and spirit. Meaning. This is absolutely crucial. Your body is an alchemical machine. It's the master alchemist. It contains it contains the potential to produce absolutely any chemical and molecule known to man. So it not only has the potential to produce these chemicals, but also to recreate them. Understanding that nothing can be destroyed, but that's for another podcast. So I've just given you one example, diabetes, and an example like this exists for every experience of dis-ease in the body, of disharmony in the body, of any form of distortion in the body. And so I'm going to be extremely vulnerable now and share with you the biggest one that I've had in my life. When I was in my late teens, I was getting back pain. And I went to the doctor, got all the MRIs done, got everything done. And the doctor just said to me straight out, he said, if you don't stop playing tennis, you'll be in a wheelchair before the age of 30. And I thought, oh man, I actually felt like my life was over. I absolutely loved tennis. I wanted to continue playing. I wanted to take it to the highest possible level. Semi-professional, then professional if possible. I wasn't in the realm of being professional because of how my body was at the time, but it was always a dream I'd held. And so that whole thing shattered. And so all of a sudden my lens of perspective changed, and I'm just carrying around this perception that I'm, my lens has been distorted. And so therefore my body begins distorting. And I've been slowly becoming disabled ever since that. At trying to understand why, trying to get to the root cause. Even with all the depth of understanding I have now, it's only recently that I've been able to go so deep to get to this one. And I realized that what I was doing, if some of you have come to this podcast through, links on other websites to other businesses I'm involved with and projects, you'll know that I've built a, it's not just me, obviously, but I created a collaborative e-commerce platform called Powerhouse. It has a symbiotic business called Morpheus. And my vision has always been that through those two businesses, they would become, it's actually making me feel emotional just talking about it, but that they would be capable of enabling someone who is severely disabled to continue living, to live a purposeful life, a life full of meaning. And, at a subliminal level, I've actually built this for myself because of this terror I've had about becoming disabled and not being able to create anymore, because I'm the kind of person that's, I'll get an inspiration for a business, every day at least, often several times a day. And I have a huge folder of ideas and concepts that I want to initiate, but I actually want other people to carry them forward. And so I've been going about my life trying to create a way to not have to do anything. And so the interpretation I've had is that I don't want to do anything. I'm trying to create a way that means I don't have to do anything. And of course you would expect that, because I'm trying to figure out a way to deal with not being able to do anything. If I end up in a wheelchair, or possibly even worse. And so that's what I've been pulsing out. But, when I understood the nature of the body, like the real, true nature of the body, and I explored that in the same way that I explored diabetes with you just before. When I said to myself, I have evolved to become a being capable of doing nothing, so that what I discovered is just, it's utterly mind-blowing. It's utterly mind-blowing. What I actually discovered was a repressed desire, a desire that I'd never even realized that I had. I'd been misinterpreting it the whole time because I was so scared of going into the nature of being disabled, and the feeling of it terrified me so much. I'd actually been resisting it for so long, unconsciously. And I think that's probably a form of denial, to be honest. And that I hadn't seen, and I now know, that all of everything we're resisting is just holding a repressed desire that's trying to be expressed. Guilt, shame, both of those things only exist to hide a desire that we're too ashamed of admitting that we want. So, guess what the desire was? Is I want to create a body that is capable of doing everything. I want to create a body that's capable of doing everything. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? It can do everything. And it made no sense to me. But obviously, I'm fortunate enough to have, be very adept at going inward. And so I went inward, and sure enough, I found the original moment that this happened, and this is how it evolved in the beginning of all time, is that the mind, the greater intelligence of everything in existence, it encountered a similar thing of receiving so much inspiration and wanting to create, but feeling so limited by its body and wanting to stagnate and actually get to a point of where it wouldn't be able to create anymore. And so the desire arose is I want to create a body that is capable of creating everything for me. That was then followed by the desire to, I want a seer that is capable of seeing everything for me. And together interpret meaning that could communicate to this body, and that body could therefore materialize that into form, carry it forward. And as it evolved, it became a pure observer, and it didn't do anything anymore. It had surrendered the responsibility to what it had created so that it could just observe. But here's the thing. It's not disabled at all. It's thriving in every single way. It wasn't creating a way for itself to do nothing. It was creating a way for its own body to become capable of doing everything. And so within that is an illusion of all of those four components being separate from each other, but in truth being entirely symbiotic, simultaneously separate and together. And I had this realization about my projects and my businesses is that, up until that moment, I'd been speaking with my business partners and people involved about, how can I exit? How can we create an eternal constitution so that I can exit all of these projects gracefully and they can be imbued with the spirit of the originally intended purpose of these projects? And I was always creating ways for them to be able to continue thriving without me. And then I realized that I don't have to, I don't actually want to create them to operate without me. I want them to continue, I want them to be able to do everything for me, to be able to create everything for me, but I want to observe and be surprised and delighted by, what everyone creates on the Powerhouse platform, the incredible businesses that arise, Morpheus enabling these people to, and because of this, even disabled people, even people who are disabled, they can just continually initiate and create relentlessly. And I can observe and be surprised and delighted by what is created. But realizing that it's part of my body, it's not separate. And that feeling so silly about wanting a body that was capable of doing everything, it just seems so stupid. But that's why I've created it. And so here you have my body was just following, and it was getting pretty bad. I was getting to the point where I was becoming catatonic, and then I'd just come to again, or my body would clench up and my hands would go like claws, and I couldn't type, and this would last for 3 or 4 days, and I'd just be thinking, oh God, here we go, it's coming. But now my body knows and it understands that what I really want is a body capable of doing everything. And this is where we link back up to the metaphor I gave you about everything else in nature. It trusts the body. It trusts the body. And ultimately, what is it that's going to enable us to trust our body in the same way, where we can trust our own bodies, that the signals we're receiving from our bodies, that the impulses, the urges from our bodies are enabling us to realize our highest potential of what we can become. How can we trust that? And it's pretty simple. We need to be able to trust ourselves. And that trust only comes from understanding your nature to such a degree that you realize that everything in existence is working for you. Absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. It is only the lens of your perception that can become distorted, and that distortion only ever means that we need more understanding of the aspect of our experience that we're seeing as negative or as an impediment to thriving or as something undesirable. It's always the manifestation of a desire. It's just that we don't realize that that's what we were asking for. So hopefully that's been of some help. I know it's extremely deep, but there's a bit of everything in there, and I think I'll leave it there, but I'll follow up with some other topics that delve into this a bit more deeply. And if any questions arise from within my community around this, I'll continue to explore them and bring further clarity of my own perspective. So that's it for now. This has been The Nature of Becoming. Talk soon.